Today on Off and On the Clock, we have Superflex contests in the lobby. There's a Superflex puppy, so we are going to talk a little strategy for that, review the ADPs, some of our favorite strategies, and then we'll hop in a draft and see how we do in the Superflex streets. I'm Pete with Jon and Nez. This is Off and On the Clock. Let's do it. All right, Nez will be here in a short sec, but Jon, how are we doing? Are you? I saw the tweet. I think it was from Tej Seth that it's working out, and drafting. That's everybody's life right now.
Yeah, that is, man. That is everybody's right now. I actually got my first cardio club in this weekend. Did a long ass bike ride. Bought a nice little setup for the outdoor ride. Probably hit another one of those either tonight or tomorrow as well. So yeah, man, lots of fun stuff going down. Between that and the marathon giveaway stuff, lots of good stuff to be excited about in the football streets right now.
My Tuesday morning ritual is I lift during ADP chasing, and I might be the only person in the world who gets fired up to throw some weight around listening to those guys talk about just minuscule ADP movements. I'm always cracking up when I'm like under the bench or whatever, and I'm like listening to Davis give a take, and I'm like, all right, that pisses me off. Now we're good to go.
Nothing like getting one more rep out of an AD Mitchell three spot rise in ADP this week.
That would always be like a fun experience. You know, I mean, you see the classic gym bros like meatheads, and they're like listen to Metallica, or they got their techno mixes or whatever, and then it's just like me over in the corner listening to ADP chasing. I think Michael Pittman is slightly undervalued. Let's rep it out.
I was never a audio while working out guy. Actually, at times I was a little bit of a psychopath. I would listen to one song on like repeat for like an hour sometimes, like where you just get lost in the sauce.
Okay. So wait, no audio at all, or just no
no spoken audio?
Yes.
Yeah.
What if I'm doing like running or like a shorter distance or sprinting? I like music because it like gives me the tempo or whatever. But yeah, just working out, lifting, I like having a podcast on. It's my go-to.
Apparently so does Power Cashew, because he's literally hitting the chest press right now while listening to us.
Yeah, I was just saying that my routine is to do a lift during ADP chasing, and that's what gets me fired up to throw the weights around. So we got Power Cashew here, Off and On the Clock, the background noise for lifting.
ADP chasing will get you fired up to lift, because like they'll just be like stuck on a take for like 20 minutes. You're like, Jesus Christ, move on!
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Exactly. I'm mad at you, Nez, too, because I lifted. I had like the healthiest, most bland salad of my life for lunch. And then I go on in the Discord and on Twitter, and I see you guys talking about a Taco Bell value pack or whatever, and Crunchwrap Supremes. And I'm like, this is not the content I need to be consuming right now, because I'm already kind of ravenous.
Yeah, I'm a big like calorie per dollar guy, and I didn't realize that you could build your own Lux box at Taco Bell for like $6 and get 17,000 calories for $6. I mean, I can't eat another meal knowing that I'm just, giving away alpha by not maximizing my calorie per dollar at Taco Bell.
It's so funny. Like you think about, when people talk about like tracking their macros and calorie counting, like it is very tedious, especially if you're doing it with like Whole Foods and stuff at home, and you got to like weigh shit. I've never done it. Like I try to like ballpark a little bit. And then you get these fast food apps, and they're like, not only will we tell you exactly the amount of calories, but we'll also make it very cheap, and we'll deliver it to your door as well. It's like, what? Come on, stop making this so easy.
It's bad. It's awful, actually.
So yes, not surprised that the guy lifting right now is concerned about what's in there.
You don't want to know. You don't want to.
What have you guys been drafting? I feel like I had to finish either my pugs or my hound dogs, and then I was like, I'm still in eliminator mode. And then they dropped the marathon promo, which if you guys didn't see, by tomorrow night at midnight, if you draft 7 marathon teams, so $15 a pop, you get $25 in bonus credit. So basically draft 7 marathons, get a free BBM. And so now I've been doing marathons. So my head's been on a swivel. And then I wanted to do a Superflex puppy this morning to get ready for our show. So what have you guys been drafting?
I'm in slow draft season right now, finishing up the last 20 of the schnauzers, and then did I said I was going to jump in 7 of the marathons. I jumped in 10 last night of the marathons for the slows there, and then I got a couple BBM slows cooking, and then I just do the BBMs when I'm going to be doing the cardio club stuff. I'm a little late to the Superflex streets, but many were saying Gil was ahead of his time with his strategy. The ADP that has been set with I'm seeing 28 quarterbacks in the first 65 picks. So excited to dive into this.
Yeah, I've been big into slow drafts as well. Like I'm really going hard at the 7th inning stretch. I really like that contest right now. I think that like the edge that exists in there is like too much to ignore. So I'm really hitting that one hard, as well as doing, my remaining puppy slows and my eliminator slows. So I'm also like really heavy into slow draft season. I'm able to stay on top of those right now, which is nice. I'm probably going to be like in slow draft hell for the majority of this summer, but it's a self-inflicted hell. I am enjoying it. And of course, Superflex as well. Like I want to do a lot of these Superflex. I think this contest I'm really excited to talk about. I think there's a lot of edge in this contest too. Anytime that there's something that's kind of new and unfamiliar, obviously, that's where the edge exists. So I think that this, like, I didn't like Superflex last year. I'll admit it. I'm really into it right now. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been enjoying just the slight format differences going back and forth. And it is kind of fun too when you are very familiar with the ADPs in the traditional contest and then seeing like where things differ. And sometimes the differences make a lot of sense of why, like, okay, the rookie's getting pushed down in the marathon where the back weighted stuff isn't as important. But then sometimes you'll see stuff and you're like, I actually don't know why that's happening. Or they'll be like Travis Kelce's like going way ahead of like Mark Andrews and Jonnu in the marathon for some reason. I'm like, why is that happening? Like there's just some weird quirks. And so you can kind of arbitrage or get guys at cheaper prices in some of these different contests, which is fun.
I think the wrinkle of the quarterback dynamic is just so fun. Like just in general, that it just like shifts the entirety of the landscape, right? Like you have to read and react to the dynamic of the room more so than in any other contest, because you have to be hyper aware of like the teams that are stockpiling or the teams that are punting, and you don't want to be the guy who's left chasing 5 at the QB spot with 3 north of 36 ADPs or something, right?
Yeah, for sure. I like them too, just because like they're a mixed bag. You just have no idea like what kind of draft you're gonna get in your lobby. Like you said, John, you could be in a room where like it's like 8 out of 12 people like prefer to punt, and you're like, wow, like I'm seeing like a lot of like QBs that normally don't go here. And then there's other times where it's the 3rd round, and you're like, all right, Sam Darnold, QB1, let's go. Like it's just it can really you just don't get that dynamic with like regular best ball where it's just like, okay, like, this is who's available, or I'm going for this stack. I gotta reach here. It's the monotony is just like, it's gone in Superflex.
Wanted to quickly answer this question from JT. Do you have to click on a link or have a promo code for the $25 marathon credit? No, the Underdog backend system will know if you do 7 drafts between when they announce the promo and at 11:59 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. And then they'll drop. Generally, they're pretty on top of it, but you'll just see if you go in your transaction log, you'll see like a plus 25 in promo credit there. You don't have to fill anything out, just have to get those 7 drafts in.
Yeah, and I think it's good that, Nez shared the little hack there yesterday. If you are strapped for time at this point, just jump in those slows because you don't have to complete the drafts to qualify.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. Like I have not entered slow draft hell. I have not done a single slow draft post NFL draft. I'm trying to keep it that way. However, I will break my slow draft cherry if I don't get in my 7. I'll probably get to like 4 or 5 by tomorrow, and then I'll enter two slows begrudgingly. Seems good. But yeah, got to take advantage of that free money there that Underdog is giving out. Let's see here. Any other news and notes? I mean, on the NFL landscape, obviously the Stephon Diggs thing has been kind of the big news, but probably more of a nothing burger ultimately, which I guess is how you could kind of summarize all NFL news these days.
Right.
Like, it was fun to talk about, but probably means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, but did you guys see the big one today? JJ McCarthy, OTAs, only thrown 1 interception, yet leads the world with like 30 OTA touchdowns right now.
Dude, when are we going to have like OTA fantasy contests? Because I feel like as the reporting increases on these teams, it's like, let's just standardize OTA practices. It'll essentially be flag football, but let us draft an OTA team, because I know there are people in this chat who would do that.
Oh, 100%. What we need is one verifying Underdog representative at every OTA camp doing the stat collection there, and we can be first to market.
This hypothetical just makes me very sad. This is just a very sad state of affairs.
Nez, how about this for what? Because I think I might write about this for the Fantasy Life newsletter tomorrow.
Okay.
Just being like, what the fuck, or what's like going on with the Steelers? Because just like their entire offseason, obviously the quarterback plan, and it doesn't sound like anything's actually going to happen. But even the rumor that they were in talks to acquire Jonnu Smith and like pay him, it's just like, what's going on over there in the Berg, man?
I have no idea. I have no idea. They're like half in, half out, but like they're in my opinion, they're like 80% there to just like, hey, this is a tank season. But then, the 20% of them is like trying so hard to like eke out an extra win here, an extra win there. Like, I just don't know. I think, I get it. Tomlin's a great coach. They refuse to commit to sucking. They just do not want, even though they're kind of there. Right. Like right now, present state, they are there. They are probably not going to be a good team, but we say that every year. I want them to just roll with Mason Rudolph. Like, just forget the Aaron Rodgers shit. Let's just roll with Rudolph. Let's let JJ Watt walk, or TJ Watt walk. And then we'll start fresh next season. I just don't get this halfway shit that they're going for right now. It doesn't make any sense to do what they're trying to do. But like, I will say Gabe Davis, not like a substantial, increase to the win shares or anything like that. So, but yeah. As saw like, but like, why are we rumored to be in talks for Johnny Smith? How come
that? Well, even the Gabe Davis thing. I mean, we're talking about a guy who the second he was out of the locker room in Jacksonville the coaching staff is talking about Gabe Davis like he's De'Ami Brown like he's Randy Moss, because he's not Gabe Davis. It's just like, we are so far beyond Gabe Davis being anything relevant. I mean, he could, like, last year was a pristine situation for him to have like a Darnell Mooney-esque impact on the Jags, and the dude just doesn't have it.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
no.
R.I.P. Third and fourth turn. Gabe Davis shares of 2022.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a thing. That
was an era.
Yeah, we get tricked by playoff performances all the time. But I'm just they're really frustrating me, man. They just won't commit to the sucking, and they need to commit to sucking. It's totally fine. And also, I want them to roll with Mason Rudolph, because he's like a 20th round pick in these Superflex contests. That's chef's kiss.
I was gonna, we should use that to segue into looking at the quarterback landscape in the Superflex. Obviously, they're going extremely high to just kind of benchmark it for people. If you look at like the Sam Darnold, Geno Smith tier in the traditional stuff, like you can get those guys, around pick 150, 160. Geno Smith goes at pick 54. Sam Darnold goes at 62, and then Anthony Richardson at 65. That's where you kind of really enter that territory of like, oh, it's a rookie. Are they going to play 17 games? Do they have a team, etc.? So if you have not prioritized a quarterback, by the end of essentially round 6 at the latest, like you're up a creek in these drafts.
Absolutely. I mean, because you want to, right? And I think if you are not taking that, if you're not taking that first quarterback by like, I'll be courteous, and stretch it and say round 4. If you're not taking it by round 4, you're gonna have a bad time, or you're in Daniel Jones, Mason Rudolph territory for QBs 2 and 3. So people like I've tried pushing the envelope, that we tend to do around here. I take my first quarterback at round 3 now if I push it, for my first QB. that's where I draw the line. All right, first QB by round 3, it like is a must for me.
It's interesting, like structurally, how teams in a time box Superflex contest would look now juxtaposed to like August when we have like more clarity on who like the starter is and stuff like that, and how that would influence roster construction. Because right now, I see like 20 rounds. I just go like, hey, I'm really comfortable with 3 QBs in the pockets in which we're getting them in the BBM landscape. I'll just replicate that with 4, and that's not possible in any regard in these lobbies right now. But come, known certainty and, known variables later down the road, maybe people would draft that way. I don't know.
Yeah. And these ones can really, it's like anything, right? Where you feel better when you can get one of those top 4 picks, because you start to look at like the spread in ADP of these guys, like even like Joe Burrow to Mahomes in BBM or a puppy or whatever, a couple rounds, you feel like there's a pretty big tier gap. And then it's like, well, the tier gap is like 4 picks, 3 picks right in here, where being on the bad side of that tier gap, like does not feel good, especially when you're passing on Jamar Chase to select a guy like Patrick Mahomes, which is like often a decision, you're going to be faced with in these rooms.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nez. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, for me, like that top 4 clear defined tier, and then like I essentially don't want like part of anybody else below that while these skill position guys are on the board. I'd much rather prioritize, especially running back. I definitely am a running back bro in these, because you only start 2 wide receivers instead of 3 in BBM. So to me, that just really changes the dynamics, and the ADP does reflect it, but I don't know that it reflects it enough, in my opinion, to where like you can really build what I think are like pretty good teams by prioritizing running back early in these.
Yeah. And there's, it is one of those things where it's like, it feels gross to like have to select that QB2 or QB3 when there's guys like a Drake London or Ladd on the board. But man, once things swing back around, like there's a trickle down effect to it. Like other really good players are getting pushed down because of that run on QBs. So it is, I would say, like you got to get those 2 starters at the very least. And then I think there's room to play around with the 3rd QB. Nez mentioned the Mason Rudolph. I think Daniel Jones is a really nice price here at 114. No one's rushing to get him. Obviously Jackson Dart, I think, is interesting. Tyler Shuck. So I think kind of where I'm at after reviewing things and doing a draft was like lock up those 2 early and then kind of try to wait and pick my spot for that 3rd one.
Yeah, I'm kind of in lockstep with you guys there. I think that's a good take, Mike. My biggest 2 takeaways thus far was obviously what you noted there, Nez. Shifting one of the wide receiver positions to a flex pushes the running backs up. But there's also a pocket of this, like right after Anthony Richardson, where like you can hammer wide receiver that would be like 3rd round wide receiver in our normal drafts there, that like you can still be left with like 4 picks of like a pretty solid, wide receiver room if you end up with like 2 of those and then 2 or 3 later. And because you're filling less spots out with it, I mean, I think you just have to capitulate to what's going on with ADP because it's steering correctly. The other little one that I noticed too is the stacking. People tend to stay in their lanes a bit more when you take the quarterback before the pass catcher, opposed to vice versa in our other contests, because we're so accustomed to taking the skill positions first. And then, I feel like people just tend to stay in their lanes a little bit more by like, if you're the Josh Allen drafter, someone will just kind of like let you have Shakir or Kincaid or whatever at a slight discount in quotations because they'd rather stack in their own regard. Have you guys felt similarly?
I just haven't really put a lot of thought and effort into stacking in these, because it's just like you just got to get who you get. And, like stacking for me is like so secondary. Obviously it's like a nice to have, kind of like need to have, but like I just I just get who I get, and hopefully that there's backstack options for those players. It's sort of how I've looked at it. So I might be a bit of a terrorist in people's lobbies.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's kind of similar to the dynamic in BBM where you have the like Love, Stroud, Lawrence, McCarthy, Penix like tier. And so, if you have players from that team, you can kind of pick which one you want and kind of line up the stack. But I'm with Nez. Like the one I did, I got like one clean stack. I got like the Lawrence, BTJ, Travis Hunter. And then the other ones, like I got no stacks because I'm like, hey, this is the last quarterback here and I just need this position filled. So yeah, I agree with Nez that it feels a little bit more like a luxury than something you're prioritizing because the positional runs are so vicious.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how that plays out in a stream draft room with yeah, I don't know, maybe they'll be staying in their lanes a little bit more. Could I ask you guys a question here that was floating around in the chat? Achievers is saying that Jordan Love is the best priced quarterback bet on the board. Do you guys have, I know you mentioned Daniel Jones there, Pete, but do you guys have, a target prior to that that's like, this is my make or break? He's either positioned as a QB3, but I think he can perform like a QB2, or, I want two of these targets kind of deal.
Go for it, Nez.
Yeah, I think for me, like Stroud and Trevor Lawrence are like really, really cheap. Now, we just got this news today about like he's got a sore throwing shoulder. I do not love that. I wish that wasn't the case. But
for CJ,
correct.
Oh, okay. I did see that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not throwing. General soreness. I mean, you haven't played football in a while. No concerns, getting a lot of questions that are answered about my no concerns about my sore throwing shoulder. I am a little worried about that, but if that wasn't the case, I do really like the Stroud ADP, given what they did this offseason and, what we saw Stroud's rookie season. I do think that he is still, a good quarterback, of course. And again, these prices are, ADP 37 and 38. It's not like they're like giga cheap.
Yeah.
But Bryce Young, another one, he's ADP 50. I get a lot of Bryce Young in these, and pretty much like the cheapest, all the cheap quarterbacks. I just think are just like where it's at. I'm gonna have a ton of them, and yeah, I guess if you to make like another one, Justin Fields, I'm always going to be into Justin Fields as far as expensive quarterbacks because you don't have to worry about stacks as much with him.
Yeah, that's a good point about the stacks.
I think like the more we're kind of looking at it, it's like, the kind of the concerns we have with some of these prices, say like the Burrow, Mahomes, Baker tier, where it's like, we are really hoping for a nuclear touchdown passing season from them because they're not going to run that much. And so we can talk ourselves into it in BBM. That tier, I feel like the warts are even more magnified by the Superflex ADP, where like that tier makes me feel dicey. And then the second one would be like this like Darnold Richardson area here, where it's like, the reason Richardson goes so late, and even Darnold to an extent, whether it's like systemic offensive risk or Anthony Richardson bench risk, like you're paying a lot for a guy who's not guaranteed 17 games when you can go down and you can get the flip side of that bet. You can get the Russell Wilson, who's going to play 10 plus games probably, or Daniel Jones, who's going to play 8 plus games and pay significantly less. So like those two tiers feel like the fragile parts of the board where I think ideally I'd be kind of skipping out. And then otherwise I'm like, just let me get any of these guys I can.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you guys. Like I identified it on the cover there with like the three that stood out to me in terms of tiers. And I went May, Lawrence, Geno. As kind of like those pockets relative to ADP just kind of stood out to me as like getting May as a potential ceiling guy, getting Lawrence as a potential ceiling guy, and then Geno just being slightly underpriced. Yeah, I like your guys' targets.
Yeah, that's why I want to do so many of these if I can help it, because like I want to do those risky builds. Like I do want to take those shots on those guys that like all the guys that Pete mentioned that are way below that tier of like 20, QB. What is it there? 20, like 26, 27. I want to take risks on those guys, and I want to have enough bullets to like not build my entire portfolio out of those risky picks. But like, man, I really want to have those bullets, because if you get those right, like those teams are just like doing work in this field. If you do hit on any of those guys,
have you been stopping at 4 QBs, Nez?
I mean, I think I did 1.5 and it was a disaster. You know, it wasn't because I was like, these are good picks. It's just, holy shit. I hope I had 2 starting quarterbacks at any point during the season is why I did that. But normally I will stop at 3, sometimes 4 if I'm in like another like shitty position, but definitely 3 for sure. And I think you could even push it to 2 if you're drafting like a pocket passer that's like way priced up. I think that you should probably be stopping at 2. That's just my opinion, just because of like the draft capital that is being spent on those guys and what you need them to do.
And then you just fill your super flex with a non-quarterback for the bye weeks.
Yeah, like at that point, yeah, because like you're not gonna really have any quarterbacks available unless you get a falling shock or maybe a giant. Like it depends, but like for the most part, yeah, that's how I'm not doing a lot of that.
One other thing, like even though we were talking about how stacking isn't necessarily a primary concern, based on the structure of the tournament, it's still definitely something we need to keep in the back of our head as far as 2 of 12, 1 of 10, 1 of 10. So that the 1 of 10, 1 of 10, that's an easier bar to clear than say in Best Ball Mania where you get that 1 of 16, but you're still showing up to a 375 person final, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of teams where you're going to want some of that correlation. And obviously some of the backloaded rookies, all of those things that we prioritize in BBM and puppies. And that's why this contest will put your mind in a blender, because you got to accomplish a ton of different initiatives. It's not like Eliminator or Marathon where I think it's kind of like clear what you're trying to do. Like you still need that late season upside in a big way in a 375 person final.
Okay, we got two more that my mind's spinning now. Associated with that, Pete, in BBM this year, there's been a lot of talk about the 3 quarterback alpha as being like a super quarterback has the first 2 good games, gets you through, then everybody has that quarterback in the finals, and now you want that third one with the stack to go off and be the differentiator late kind of thing. That's been like a huge talking point. Do you guys think that has more or less credence in Superflex form?
Probably more, right? You get more juice for the squeeze in Superflex. Obviously your teams look different, but you get more usage out of that third QB in Superflex throughout the season. I mean, theoretically, right?
Man, I'm thinking playing whack-a-mole with some 5 QB builds here.
Oh my God.
The thing that I think is interesting, and we should review it when we get to the end, is like, obviously in like a BBM right now, there isn't much of an opportunity cost to not, passing on running backs and wide receivers in round 17 and 18, because it's just like such a free for all. We have so little information. I do think because all the quarterbacks go early, we do have a little bit better, more viable player pool late of non-quarterback positions. So I think it's an interesting thing of like, what are you passing on to load up on like 4 or 5 quarterbacks there?
Yeah, that's a good point there, Pete, because even like the whack-a-mole guys who may not have any jobs at all, or have like Spencer Radler, like 216, Mason Rudolph, 213, Kirk Cousins, 279. I mean, if he just stays with Atlanta, he might not start a game this year, right? So it's kind of like, what are you passing on in that range? Because that pick range is worth more in this contest at another position than in BBM would be, because the quarterback's already been taken.
Exactly.
I do think one other fun angle, and it's kind of like what Nez was saying too, and what you guys are trying to think of, like punt options. And obviously it's risky, but like in a time box contest, there are some opportunities for you to make a bet on like, who do you think is going to win the Cleveland quarterback job? Like if you're a Dylan Gabriel bowl, like how many Dylan Gabriel teams are going to be drafted in this, to where like you could legit have a 20th round starting quarterback, or maybe you're Shadur or Flacco. Like I haven't been seeing those guys getting drafted at all. That's kind of an interesting angle of like, it's the most important position in this contest, and it's going to be time box, that you're going to get super low ownership. Again, there's a good chance you're probably lighting that spot on fire, but it's something to think through of like, the binary ones like Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson, those guys are getting drafted in 100%. But like the super ambiguous ones like the Steelers and the Browns are pretty much going overlooked.
Exactly. So that's why man, I wish I had, I'm going to do as many as I can. Like I said, like those are like really fun things to think about. And like what you win when you win with those is pretty fun.
There are some absolute sick scroll F down names for if anyone got injured. Like Gardner Minshew for Kansas City, like that would slap.
John.
Like Trey Lance in that run first Chargers scheme. Give me a little Trey Lance down here.
Oh my God.
Dude, Nick Mullins for the Jags. Nick Mullins put up numbies a couple times with the Vikings there.
This contest is going to turn John into Siege. I will. Yeah, like if you were doing it, like here's another way. Like if you're looking for, now we're just getting totally gal brain, but like what's the one system we've seen any generic quarterback come in and be able to perform? Why not Mac Jones? If you're playing the injury angle, Brock Purdy gets hurt. Mac Jones,
the prodigal son.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be a 49er the whole time, and then they got strong armed into trade. Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Street. I can't wait. This is Underdog doesn't have to offer a Superflex promo because John's going to just be drafting 5 of these guys from pick 230 and later. That'll be the promo for all of us.
You're going to be calling for my head. This guy took 5 quarterbacks and the first one's ADP is 179. Yeah. Cancel the draft.
That's the beauty. I think we'll hop in a 20-second $5 here. I mean, you got $5. You can live a little in here.
Okay, serious question. Can you handcuff? Like, can you just be like, okay, I'm going to make a 4 quarterback team and I got Richardson. Can I just take Daniel Jones? Like, is it smarter even to just take Daniel Jones on that roster and kind of lock up that job? Or is it smarter to take 2 shots for ceiling outcome and take like Jalen Milroe or something instead?
I think my issue with the handcuff on the Richardson is Richardson's still pretty expensive. Like that's an expensive pick. Whereas if you wanted to tell me you're going to draft Joe Flacco and Shedeur, like now I'm kind of like, okay, they're free. You're probably getting what, like 15 plus games from that duo. I'll leave a little Gabriel or whatever out in there. But I think, yeah, if you're, or Nez, who would it be? Like Mason Rudolph and what? Is it Will Howard? Like who else?
It is. Dude, hey, there's some Will Howard smoke out there. They're talking about him potentially being the starter. I'm not even. That's no joke. That's no joke.
Bring back Duck Hodges one time.
Let's not.
Man,
you know what's cool though? I was just looking this up because I knew that this was a significant increase from last year. They ran, I think, just one Superflex last year. But they had the pug and the puppy. But dude, the puppy last year Superflex was 300K. This is $1 million.
Yeah, this is legit. 100K to first, 75 to second. We're on the clock. You guys want Jaden Daniels or Hurts? We got the 103 here.
Daniels.
Let's do
it. Even though Hurts does get the Madden curse bump for his teammate, but I do want Jaden Daniels.
So good.
Okay.
This is probably the one time where you can like easily stack Jaden Daniels. He's a little tough to stack in Best Ball Mania. I think you actually might be able to get a pretty easy Terry click from us here. We'll see.
Nez, are you, I feel like I've, or maybe hopefully, I can't remember if we've talked about this, but are you with me and still being intrigued by Debo? I feel like everybody is out on Debo and I'm like, still interested myself.
No, I think I am. I was like, I didn't have a take at first. I was just like, man, I don't know. I was just so scared. I needed time to recover and heal from like my bags last year.
Yeah.
I think I am. Like, he's in a really good spot and a really good system. Not that last year wasn't, but last year was sort of a disaster for all of the Niners other than Jawan Jennings. I think I'm into it, man. Like the price is right. You know, it's a good, like it's a good cost for Debo. The risk reward is where it needs to be.
And I do think it is. I do think it's a slight upgrade to his situation, as good as it was in San Francisco. And I think when you look at the personnel, I think he fits better into Washington's needs than he did San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco's the quality of their weapons and how they won and CMC in that short area. And like, there was a lot of overlap where I think Debo provides something really unique to the Commanders.
I mean, there's also the narrative that Cliff Kingsbury spent all those years in Arizona staring at this guy and then tried to replicate him like a million different ways with the Rondell Moores of the world. And who's the other small ass guy that they brought over from Atlanta back in the day?
Rondell Moore, or who are you
No,
saying?
the other one. There was one before Rondell that the fantasy community liked too.
Fields is here. We also have the wide receivers.
Let's do Amon-Ra as a tier break and see if we get Goff on the way back.
I'm
with
not
it.
opposed to that. Yeah.
Like Amon-Ra looks like he could be a top 6 player there, and then I don't know.
No, I'm with it. These guys might not take. Yeah, like I think we're going to get some QBs coming back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, but like
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's we saw the running backs all go on the back side of the board, which I think makes sense there with that run. Barkley, Bijan, Gibbs, CMC, Genty, and Henry, and then no running back picks until the one hole takes Achane at 25. They go Lamar, Fields, Achane, which is definitely a strong start.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
We should be able to get Goff here, though.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. You want to lock up that stack?
Yeah, that's fun. Good. This is like a pretty flat quarterback tier for me. Like all these guys I think are pretty much the same, but nothing wrong with coming away with one and having it stack. That's always beneficial. Just one last note with the Debo thing too. I think having Jaden Daniels as your quarterback, just opens up, a lot for all weapons, because obviously so much of the attention is on his ability to run and pass, of course, too. So like that, I think that just opens things up for all parties. He made a lot of like wide receivers work. Like Olamide Zaccheaus was like a problem for teams because Jaden Daniels was so much took up so much energy and attention from defenses. So I think that alone should put Debo in some advantageous spots.
Yeah. And just thinking like competing with CMC versus competing with Brian Robinson and Eckler, competing for George Kittle over the intermediate area versus competing with Zach Ertz, like everything I think sets up well for him. So yeah, I'm going to continue to click him. I don't think he's a guy like I'm going to be like getting super heavy on, but I think I'll be slightly over the field with Debo this year.
Yeah.
I remember the player that Cliff Kingsbury originally tried to make the Debo role, Andy Isabella.
Did he?
That was like
I don't remember Andy Isabella seeing the field that much. I thought he was more just like a regular wide. Wow, I did not realize that was the plan.
What was Isabella was the I think UMass Amherst alum that I think like he was one of those production darlings because again he went to UMass Amherst and then he had a couple moments. He had a couple moments there.
Yeah, we were excited for it. Was more of like a DFS play, we're like, oh, this is the Andy Isabella week. He's 3K, like gotta.
And it was like the air raid hope too. It was like, oh, the air raid's actually going to be sick, and it never was.
Horizontal raid.
Yeah, like one of the biggest letdowns in like modern. I'll never forget. It was like so like right before pre-COVID. I just remember Davis and I read the Hal Mummy book about the air raid and Cliff Kingsbury. And you just get so stoked on this offense, and you're like, football is never going to be the same once this is used at the NFL. And then it's just fucking 2.5-yard check downs and screen pass, and you're like, God damn it.
Maybe it was Mahomes.
Let's see here. Grab a running back, Kyron or Brees. I think
I prefer Brees, but
I'm on Team Brees too. So
okay.
All right, let's do Brees, and then we can see what comes back, because now you're in this super flat tier of the wide receivers here, so it doesn't like really matter. Whereas running backs, I think a little dicier here. So we start Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, Brees Hall, and Amon-Ra. If we go wide receiver, we could get the double stack. Do the Terry.
I think that would be priority if we went that route. And I think we should, but Like I'm okay with, missing out on potentially a third QB, but what do you think, John?
I'd take T. Higgins over Terry, and I'll tell you, you guys pick whichever one. You guys flip the coin between T. Higgins and Terry, but I'd take.
I'm taking Terry.
let's do
with
Terry
Jaden Daniels,
on this.
9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Why?
So my thought process here is that Burrow is never going to be stacked with Chase, and Burrow is so routinely going to be stacked with Higgins in this contest that having him is like a nice differentiating piece, whereas Jaden and Terry will be stacked on the left side of the board every damn time together.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know if every damn time, just the way positional runs work, and you might have a Jaden Daniels drafter who feels compelled to wait at QB2 and then they're getting, I don't know if I guess I haven't done enough to see how often that's happening.
My counterpoint, I think, would be if it might be common, but if we're in the finals and we're the non-stacked Jaden Daniels team and it's a Jaden Daniels Terry, connection going off or something, then you're gonna want that anyways. But I do think combinatorially, though, you are right. I think that will be very popular. Still got to get there, bro.
Yeah, I think there's just and the still got to get there argument is probably that T. Higgins goes how many picks ahead of Terry in our other contest? He goes in the second round.
Sure.
Well, like
Terry goes in
4 or 5 picks. Yeah.
No, that's a good. Yeah.
I think I do slightly, like, all things being equal. Yes, give me T. Higgins, but I think it's close enough that I'd use the correlation tiebreaker there,
right,
every time.
I'm trying to think through the quarterback dynamics that are impossible to stack basically right here.
Yeah,
and
good thought.
I think it's just Burrow and Chase. I mean,
yeah, that'll be very hard to get. It probably exists, but very, very difficult for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it could in a 12-person draft where they're ADP 5 and ADP 6.
You'd probably need Mahomes to go over Burrow and running back. What quarterback is it? It's the Richardson tier. Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah, we're down there. So I think I would say Kenneth Walker.
Sure.
Yeah, these wide receivers look pretty flat to me that we can get one of those coming back if we want.
Yeah, there's one guy that stands out, but he might come back, so I won't say his name.
Okay.
So he's definitely not highlighted on the screen right now.
Oh, now he is. Yeah.
Shit. Come on, Rick.
He'll come back. Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff, Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, Amon-Ra, and Terry McLaurin. And Kittle's now off the board too, which I think in a build like this, you're probably getting pushed to a late round tight end build. And this pocket works out well then because you get the 2 running backs up top, and now I think we get a really good wide receiver here.
That was
want to double it?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so now you want to stack, John? Aren't you worried about Jared Goff always being double stacked with Amon-Ra and J-Bo on this side of the board?
Come on. You're not going to make us take Travis Hunter? That's good. Wow. I did not realize that Brock Bowers went in the 3rd round here. He does not normally go. I've done a few of these. I've done enough to know he's not normally a 3rd round pick in these. I was about to ask, man, can you go elite tight end here? I think you can whenever it's a 3rd round pick.
Yeah. I think using the BBM price tags and just inserting quarterbacks along there, though, he basically went in the same spot. The only difference being Achane went ahead.
Yeah, his ADP actually is 31. I guess I was mistaken. Obviously. Maybe my ranks have him way higher for whatever I'm using. But
you're using the Crane ranks, baby. The legendary upside. Brock Bowers 106.
Just plug and play for best ball to Superflex. I mean, obviously it can work because he can just separate so much of the position, but that's definitely an uncomfortable click in Superflex.
I like too how we were stacking's kind of hard to do in this. You just got to get your quarterbacks, survive in advance. And we're boom, everything stacked, single stack, double stacked, bam, bam, bam.
I've never drafted from over here before. This is freeing. This is fun. I like the teams a lot more from over here.
My one I did this morning was from the far right side of the board as well. So yes, I've been a stranger.
So with this build, guys, where we have 2 quarterbacks in the first, 2 rounds, and we're basically betting on 2 offenses. Are you guys more likely to continue doubling down on this Washington stack and take Debo or whatever, or take, insert one other piece that goes alongside it, and then just punt quarterback fully from this point forward and just play whack-a-mole with 2 guys who don't have jobs right now with the last 2 picks? Or would you go one more, or what are you thinking?
I mean, the third quarterback we take is going to be shaky no matter what. So, I think you can have your cake and eat it too, as far as correlation goes with those guys.
And I think
I
the
would take
value
Debo.
pocket. I think the value pocket's lining up nicely again for us to go running back here and then come back around with this wide receiver group.
I was gonna say, do you want to do Shuck and Olave? Oh, Shuck
Shuck goes. I'm still fine chilling at QB. We can get creative with our third. I kind of like Pollard here. What do you guys like?
I'm cool with Pollard.
I'm also good with Judkins if someone wants Judkins.
Yeah, I like both these guys. I think I'd probably lean Pollard.
We grab Pollard. John, did you have a take? You were quiet.
Nope, I'm good with that. That feels fine.
You love Tony Redacted. Yeah, what are we saying?
I sure despise him greatly for all the money he's lost me. Yes, but we're willing to ape in on that all over again.
We are. What if Cam Ward's pretty good?
It's a great point.
That rising tide.
Yeah.
You know what they say.
Let's see here. So we're about to pick at 9-9. We got 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. We could do the premium double on both of these, or I also think Judy, Jacoby, Jaden Reed, Golden are all in the conversation as well.
I think you could probably make a case to not take Debo here, but man, my correlation brain says Debo.
You guys just want the cleanest start of all time.
Yeah, for the sexy screenshot, we can do it.
Yeah,
it is pretty sexy. I mean, look at this. Can we just have their what was it? Was it wild card game or no? Which week?
Divisional round, yeah.
Divisional. Can we just have that game for the entirety of the playoffs? So we now have Daniels with Terry and Debo and Jared Goff with St. Brown and Jameson Williams. And this is the point in the chat where someone's like, I've done this 4 times in already. Duped.
Classic dupe. These are kind of fun playoff schedules though. Like Detroit at the Rams, so you get that fun indoor one. Then you get Pittsburgh, which is gross, but then you get the coveted at Minnesota for the finals there. And then Washington at the Giants. We don't know what the Giants will be yet, but if they figure out the quarterback position, and we know Scatabugo Burr, so that one will be fun. And then they get the Eagles and then Dallas, who they might have to play shootouts against. This is setting up pretty nice.
Yeah. Man, so some of the other quarterback prices. Zoo Wildlife did the hand cucking with the Colts. Richardson at 82, Daniel Jones at 106.
I really like his start too. If you scroll up to the first 4, I really like that start.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. I don't know. To me, this seems like a lot of capital to spend on quarterbacks, 4 quarterbacks through 9 rounds. Because they go Dak, they go Darnold. I think I would just make my bet between one of these Colts wide receivers. But I don't know. I think that's just my preference. Maybe it's not bad.
I kind of like it.
It's certainly fun. It's certainly fun, but yeah, I don't know if it's optimal or not, but it is fun.
The 1v1 you're giving up isn't as powerful as we think in this tier. We're kind of still just playing whack-a-mole within the wide receiver range.
Yep. Let's see here. Man, I think Matthew Golden's a pretty awesome pick at 118.
About it. Yeah.
Compared to these running backs that are here, I like the ceiling for Golden a lot more.
Yeah. And that he's another one too, where again, I understand in the marathon, in the sprint, why the rookies get pushed way down. But to me, like Golden going after like the Diggs, Ayuk stuff like that doesn't make sense to me the way this tournament's structured. Like we need that late playoff hammer from a rookie. So I think that's a really nice price on him.
Yeah, there goes Tootin. I was wondering if we could get him to slide back to us.
Do you want him more than this other guy?
ETN?
I think I'd rather have ETN or Najee here over Tootin.
I think on a team with Breece, Kenneth Walker, and Pollard, I want to take a slightly bigger swing than Najee.
So let's do the ETN thing. What if he just leaves that backfield and that offense is good?
This has been like probably one of the biggest like coach speak conversations over the past 2 weeks. It's like every week there's a different, first Tootin fumbles. We had the conversation about that, and then there's the Liam Cohen hyping up Travis Etienne, and then there's people screenshotting him hyping up Rachaad White heading into last year, of course, for Bucky Irving. I have a ton of Tootin, but I'm pretty agnostic on this backfield. I think Etienne and Tootin are both phenomenal picks, and I want a lot of both of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I mean, if we go back and turn the time machine back there last year and we took Rachaad White right here with this pick, it would still be a good pick.
Yeah, he did enough,
Yeah. Like it wasn't.
Well, Rachaad White was far more expensive. Like, because Rachaad White was like BBM adjusted, not Superflex, was like a 5th round pick.
That's what I mean. So like we're still getting a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he does have the Rachaad White outcome at this price. Right. For sure. I didn't realize that Tootin fumbled. That didn't make it through my OTA stat provider.
It didn't. It was his first career, like it was his first touch in live NFL action was a fumble. And it caused a lot of hand wringing.
Nez, I can't believe you weren't sweating the leaderboard. It cost me the OTA slate, man. That Primetime Palooza OTA slate.
$30 swing from first to 30th.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad. No, this backfield is a conundrum, and I was like kind of holding strong on the right wing slappy front to like not take any Tootin, but I'm getting there on Tootin. It is a backfield that like I think you want a lot of exposure to every which way, because if you getting it right, I think is so important. We have these every year where we have these ambiguous backfields no one knows what to do with, but the prize for getting it right is like huge. I am going to start kind of mixing and matching here, and if the answer is Bigsby, then just God effing damn it.
Yeah,
that just sucks.
So we could grab our first tight end here with like a Njoku or Kraft. Jaden Blue's interesting. We still have some cheap rookies. Burden.
I like Njoku as both underpriced and cheap backdoor stack if we want to just take a shot on anyone.
I like it. I feel like this team deserves to have one super off the board QB3 on it.
Yeah.
Please.
He said, please.
We deserve it. So we got a 2-4-5-1 now. Jaden Daniels, Goff, obviously the premium doubles for both of those at wide receiver. We tack on Matthew Golden as the 5th. Running backs looking very nice. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, and Njoku. So like very well balanced here.
Yeah.
I think you could go 2 tight end if you guys want to go that route. I think Kirk's my favorite of this group from a wide receiver standpoint, or Ray Davis.
I think Ray Davis for me.
Okay.
There's enough James Cook FUD going around that like the Bills could just be like, dude, like take a walk. Like you are very much not a key component to this offense, and like we all saw the Ray Davis game, man. He looked awesome. So it's really just like a matter of time, hopefully, before he takes over. And we were talking about the way our running back room is shaped up. Like we are built to take like a big swing. And I think Ray Davis is a very fun swing to take.
Yes, Chunk the Deuce pointing out we did have a little Week 17 bring back with Jaden Blue there as well. And I'd argue Jaden Blue is a big swing too. Obviously a different type of swing, like just pure ambiguity versus like a pretty clean handcuff bet in Ray Davis. But I think both are big swings there. I think grabbing a running back there though makes sense. We start to enter that super kind of long flat tier at wide receiver. I think we'll be able to kind of pick our spots there. Maybe could have grabbed Kraft, but again, like pretty flat tight end tier. So I think it was fine to go running back there.
Yeah, it's fun to just think about too, just knowing that like you only need to start 2 of these wide receivers, and we got a pretty nice room right now, as far as wide receivers go. And then if we end up hitting the jackpot on one of these late running backs, and now that's like an everyday RB2, every week RB2 or flex, like you're feeling pretty good about this team if that's the case.
Yeah.
All right. This is the cautionary tale here from E. Mulligan. First quarterback is Tua at 56. Biden time. Have to load up on 3 tight ends and grab Joe Flacco as your QB2 at 152.
This guy needs a mulligan.
Good one.
Yeah.
I would push back on the Ray Davis stuff a bit. Like James Cook's not going anywhere. He can hold out like initially, and they'll probably give him like incentive laden deal or whatever. But they get nothing from cutting him, and he's not owed like that much money. So like he has 0 leverage. He just has to play this year.
Isn't the other option a trade?
Yeah, in theory, but I don't think you can go into the year with that as your backfield if you're like full-fledged contending team this year. To just be like, oh, we got Ray Davis and Ty Johnson and we trade last year. I don't know what you could get. Like, what would you get that's enough to give up the guy who...
hold on. 1 sec. Let's make this pick.
Sorry.
I just put Ertz in the queue.
That's fine.
I think we're kind of like good at running back right now. These wide receivers weren't speaking to me. I guess we could have pulled the trigger here on a Shadur if we want to let the hands fly.
Man, I just don't know. John's gonna have to be the one to tell us which QB to take. That's not my realm.
I think this feels like a wide receiver pick.
Cleveland stuff.
Any of these guys jump out to you?
McMillan.
I like Palmer. Or okay, but you can do McMillan if you want.
Okay, we can do. Yeah, we'll do McMillan. Yeah, I was trying to see if we had any correlation there with any of these guys. Obviously, Tillman pairs with Njoku. Nothing else standing out in a huge way.
Breaking news: Cook traded to the Cowboys.
Can you imagine?
Nobody would ever fall to 0 faster than Jaden Blue.
Oh my God! Yeah, that Kamani Vidal arc for him would be fully complete.
Remember that guy? Good Lord!
Oh, there'll probably be 1, if not 2, Kamani Vidals this year. We just don't know who it is yet. We just don't know.
Darwin Thompson of my generation.
There will be a Jalen Polk. We just don't know who it is yet. There will probably be multiple Jalen Polks.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Jack Besh, though.
All right. Nick says Mason Rudolph in round 19 like a man. I like it.
I think someone else might beat us to it. What's the room looking like?
Let's see here. Yeah, let's do quarterback checks on here. Maybe this is the actually that's probably gonna be better. Shardy in the 1 has 3. He's loaded up. The 2 hole just has 3. Allen, Stafford, Young. Our room of just 2. There's a Hurts, Purdy, Tyler Shuck, and Aaron Rodgers team. There's a Kyler Murray, Drake May, and Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson team. Okay, a little handcucking in New York. Burrow, Knicks, Geno. So that team's set. Caleb, JJ McCarthy team. So they're raw dogging it with 2 like us. There's the Tua, Joe Flacco team. There's a Baker, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Ward team. That team's good. There's the Dak, Sam, double Giants or Colts team we talked about. Herbert, Stroud, Milrow, and Mahomes, Love, Shadur. So it's just us in the Joe Flacco Tua team with only 2 quarterbacks right now. So we might be able to continue to push it here.
Okay.
Fortune favors the bold, baby. All right. What do you want? What do you guys like here?
I do love Pat Bryant. I click him a ton. I like see Pat Bryant. Anything else I have to have.
Okay.
I know he liked Dobbins as well, but yeah, I'm into the Pat Bryant ceiling here.
So we have 4 more picks. We're going to take a quarterback dart. We'll probably for sure grab a third tight end.
Yep.
That leaves 2 picks, 5, 7, 2.
What do we have tight end wise right now?
Schultz, Chig, Jatavian Sanders, Jawan Johnson, Theo Johnson, Terrence Ferguson.
I would throw my hat in the ring for JT Sanders.
I think we could wait then.
And then
if there's anything else we prefer.
So this is probably a running back or wide receiver. We could do another huge swing like a Dylan Sampson, if we're going to do this Cleveland thing a little bit.
Okay.
I drafted with Gretsch on Best Ball Breakfast on Monday, and we had Sean's ranks in there, and he has like this really aggressive rank on Dylan Sampson, but Gretsch was kind of relaying and spotlighting the take too of just maybe we might be underappreciating the ambiguity in the Cleveland running back room. Obviously Judkins is going to get the first crack and Ford's the veteran, but it's maybe not quite as entrenched and clear cut. Like this isn't a Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Joe Mixon kind of situation. It's like someone could win that job whenever you introduce the uncertainty of like the other leader in the clubhouse being a rookie.
Yeah. Right. And a lot of what I've seen is like, obviously like Judkins has some really exciting tape, but he obviously shared a backfield with Travion Henderson, for his for the most part is, his best years in Ohio State. So maybe that's what they have in mind is kind of continuing that type of role and not just giving Judkins the lion's share. They're just going to continue to, kind of mix and match there in that backfield. I know a lot of people like Dylan Sampson coming out. So the price is right there.
To your point, Nez, like they very well could have had that as the plan coming out, right? Because they spent a second round and a fourth round on the running back position, right? Like when they had clearly had other needs, right? Like they could have addressed quarterback way earlier than they did,
Yeah.
This is an interesting take by Artillery Frost. I really think the backup QB should be priced similar to the ambiguous backup tier in BBM, like the Dylan Sampson BBM range for Zach Wilson. I guess the counter is that the odds that the backup QBs are just total zeros is just so much higher than those ambiguous running backs, right? Like they just have the injury outs are more plentiful, for the running backs. We can continue to talk about it. We got your guy Keenan here. We could also look over. Oh, Jatavian's top of the board too, if you want to get that third tight end.
Yeah, let's do Sanders. I make us take Keenan every time. Let's just hope that he goes around the corner, so I don't have to throw it out there again.
I think our next pick should probably be our Mason Rudolph.
Okay. The other thing associated with that is that like the frequency in which quarterbacks get hurt relative to the running back position is like considerably less.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you guys we just go raw points here and we just think like Mason Rudolph has a cleaner path opposed to stacking Gabriel and like trying to get like a ceiling?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll do it. Do you want to give a duck call?
He's not Hodges. He gets a different call.
All of those backup, all those Pittsburgh quarterbacks over the years start to blend together.
Yeah, they're all kind of the same guy in different fonts. As far as the white guys.
I think Artillery would be right if this was 2 quarterback, but this is super flex. And I think that's like a pretty important mental distinction that like in a best ball format where you don't have to choose who goes in your super flex and be like, oh, I have to now correctly choose someone to match the mean scoring of a quarterback. Like even if you get like a Malik Willis start, like he started 3 games last year. One was 25 points, one was 8, and one was 12. Like we can match that in best ball scoring because it'll just be filled for us. Like you don't think we can get 12 points out of Pat Bryant in a week in which we're missing quarterback? Like it's not 2 QB, it's super flex.
Yeah. I think like devil's advocate is that, last year, like how many different quarterbacks do you think played that started a game last year? If you had to guess.
43.
Do you have a guess, Pete?
35.
59.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there's all, guys suck. guys get benched. There is that sort of ambiguity. It's just so much harder to spot and to get right. Like it's a crapshoot for sure. But like, I do think that it is worth like maybe not like Dylan Sampson range, but maybe guys should be taking more shots in the 20th.
Have you guys heard of the player Thyrick Pitts? Because I just discovered him in the player pool.
I love it. That always reminds me of the guy Brennan Eagles, like during Gauntlet season when you're trying to stack Eagles, and then that dude with the last name Eagles always pops up in the search bar.
I had put both the Pittsburgh wide receivers in the queue, just being like, if Mason Rudolph hits, but I'm open to any other. If you guys got a wide receiver here you like, Coker, Tesla, Ray,
is Amari Cooper alive? I don't know. We could do Roman for the bit.
Yeah, I'd just stack.
Oh, I should have. Yeah, we could have done Tesla too. We took a stab on
Mason.
I mean, like, if we're right on Mason Rudolph playing a bunch of games and he's hitting our lineup, one of these guys other than DK Metcalf and Freiermuth is probably gonna score some points. You would think.
You would hope.
Okay. Here's the final team, a 3-6-8-3. I will say this. I feel like some Superflex drafts, and maybe this is a product of getting that early pick, you find yourself in some really tough decisions. I'm not saying this is the best team in the world, but like it felt like we were never really backed into a corner, needing a position. Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, Mason Rudolph. It's the meme with the three guys with the guns and then the clown. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, Ray Davis, Dylan Sampson. I mean, pretty jacked up running back room there. Amon-Ra, Terry Jamison, Debo. People forget that stacking is counterintuitive. Matthew Golden, Jalen McMillan, Pat Bryant, and Roman Wilson rounding it out. And then Njoku, Ertz, and Jatavian Sanders.
It's pretty good. It's basically a 2 QB team. And then like, hopefully we get like a usable week or something. I think even after doing this with like the 2 premium quarterbacks or whatever, I think I would still gravitate to spending one more pick at the quarterback position instead of like the Roman Wilson pick, because the ceiling outcome of like a Gardner Minshew taking over Mahomes' job is just like so much higher than like Roman Wilson scoring 60 fantasy points. That being said, the opportunity cost of like drafting QB3 in the middle who loses his job juxtaposed to like a usable piece is not. So I think if I'm going to take shots, it's going to be like last 2 picks like this, Rudolph and then another quarterback there, and do like top and bottom stars and scrubs.
Yeah. I mean, Rattler would have been fun if he fell. Like ending with like Rudolph and Rattler, like that would have been like a cool way just to like take some shots here or there.
You could have, you look at so these are the quarterbacks who didn't get drafted by ADP: Dylan Gabriel, Joe Milton, Jameis Winston, Kenny Pickett, Will Howard, Zach Wilson, Malik Willis, and then we're down into the other ones there. I think Gabriel could have been interesting. We drafted Njoku.
Yeah.
That battle is wide open. It seems like what percentage would you assign to, let's say, weeks 15 to 17? What percentage do you think one of Shadur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel is the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? Like, you can bundle those two together.
40% of weeks next year.
Oh, I was saying like weeks 15 to 17. Like, forget all. Like, is a rookie starting for the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs? That's my question.
Yes.
Yeah,
like 80%.
Yeah,
one of those two combinatorial. Yeah.
Well, then I'm about to talk myself into Dylan Gabriel being a great late round pick. They drafted him ahead of Shadur Sanders.
He is.
If he's gonna be starting, like, we should probably be treating Dylan Gabriel like we treat Jackson Dart in regular drafts, right? Where it's just like, it's probably gonna be playing in week 17.
Yeah,
I do starts ADP here. Sorry, John. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I think there was a really good point in the chat from Nick where it's like not all backup quarterbacks are created equal, where it's like we're not taking like Will Levis, who like we have a sample who is, averaged 10 fantasy points per week when starting. Like we're either taking the unknown box, which is like Shador or Dylan Gabriel, or we're taking, a guy that we know has smashed when given opportunity, like Jameis Winston or like Minshew in the Kansas City situation or something like that. Like, so I think the archetype's pretty important for your bull case there for the Cleveland stuff. They play Cincinnati, they lose. Then they're at the Ravens, they lose. Green Bay, they lose. At Detroit, they lose. Minnesota, they lose. At Pittsburgh, maybe they lose, depending on who the quarterback is. Miami, maybe. And then New England, maybe. And then the bye week comes through, and then they switch quarterbacks. So,
okay.
I mean, Flacco's probably got 5 weeks of shootouts in him for those first 5 games where they're chasing points, and then we see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, if the betting markets have, not that this matters at all, but like Pickett is the favorite.
That's the other. That's
Wow.
really the wrench in all of this is Pickett. That it's like a 4-horse race.
Yeah, because he had like
even a 3.
Because he had a decent game with the Eagles when they needed him, and now he's plus 100 to start. Jesus,
it is wild how messy Steelers, Browns, and Giants, quarterback situations are too.
Because I feel like this is the messiest we've ever had in best ball season.
Yeah. I mean, and also just it's hilarious that we literally have Cleveland and Pittsburgh playing in week 17. And it's just like, I feel like correctly guessing which 2 quarterbacks are going to be playing in that game, like it feels like the odds to hit that are just like astronomical. Like if you actually guess which 2 quarterbacks are going to be starting that game, I mean,
it's like the Powerball.
Okay, what do you think? What do you think the chalk conversation is there? It would be Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders would be kind of the chalk answer.
Yeah, I think that's
probably the clubhouse.
Okay,
leader.
So one of those guys isn't on the team right now, and the other one's QB4.
The other one, the team visibly did not want to have to draft.
Right. That's so crazy. So what would you put the likelihood of that occurring in week 17 is?
Jesus Christ.
I think like those 2 both being it, like it has to be like sub 15%. Like I would take 10. The field. I would take any combo other than that exact 2. Yeah, 10%.
Crazy. That's so crazy.
And that's even the funny thing about like the Giants. It's like clearly they're going to want to see what they have with Dart, but like if Russ falls on his face like real fast, would they just be like, all right, Dart's not ready. We're going to keep like our Dart like week 11, week 12 plan, and we'll do Jameis like in the interim. Yeah. Like could it actually be a 3-leg race or like, truncated where they each have a section of the season? We get like Jameis in the middle. Like that could happen.
I mean, that'd be fun as all hell because, okay, I'm going to look it up now. I wonder how many times, like, I think in my mind it happened more times than it actually did, but how many times, like, Jameis had, like, monster fantasy games last year?
It didn't seem like he didn't have too many monster games, I want to say.
The coolest one was whenever we did the ship cast.
Yes.
That was
the snow game.
Yeah, that was bonkers. That was so crazy.
Okay, he played weeks 6 through 11. Yeah, he played weeks 6 through 11. He eclipsed 20 fantasy points 3 times, one of them being at Denver for 32, at New Orleans for...
Oh, that was the game. Wasn't that a Monday Night Football game? Or was it Thursday? It wasn't Thursday.
Yeah, it was a primetime palooza.
Yeah.
It had to have been a Monday.
That was bad.
That went to overtime, right?
Fantasy points in our scoring.
Yeah. And I think that you needed overtime to get there, but obviously had a good game.
Wow, that was a fun game. Man.
Yeah, 23, 26, 33, basically.
Yeah.
Free Jameis, man. Just for the joy of watching fun football, man. Free Jameis.
Yeah.
I think that's a good circle back to Nick's point of like not all these quarterbacks are created equal. So when you're throwing a dart in the last round, like naked Jameis is probably a better pick than correlated Mason Rudolph or whatever.
It all comes back to Jameis.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also weird, they hit on it on ADP chasing today, but it's like, you're thinking about stacking, right? And it's like, okay, you have JSN and you need a quarterback in these super flex. And you're like, all right, Jalen Milroe, let's get some upside here. And then it's like, okay, but that's probably really bad for JSN. Like, is that stack actually helping you out? Or do you want just Jalen Milroe on his own and just hoping he runs a shit ton to hit your lineup?
Right. Or the quarterback play has been so bad that JSN's not even having a good season. So it's bad that Milroe's in there. He's not like the key that's unlocking him, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, these drafts are fun. I'm going to definitely do a couple more. I got to prioritize my marathons here first, but I plan to there's I know when it initially drops, like some people don't have any interest in the Superflex drafts.
Right.
I guess I'm kind of like confused why. Like, you could still kind of mindlessly draft these. Like, the ADP has already kind of snapped in to where it's basically the ADP is already aware of the positional runs for you. Like, it's not like it's just blindly like BBM ADP and you're like, fuck, if I forget to take a quarterback, I'm fucked. It's like, no, like, you're going to see where the runs are. So to me, it's not that big of a mental shift. So I don't know.
It's just that conversation that we always have, like, people that's the reason people don't love drafting, even like the sprint, it's just like, it's just a slightly different format, and and the ADPs aren't exactly what they remember, and people are just like, no, I can't I got to think too much.
Yeah,
this is a good one in the chat. I just looked this one up too. Mariota, you have like a rookie quarterback in his now moving into his sophomore year, whose biggest knock was he loved to run into contact and like through contact. I don't know. Like, the injury risk associated with Jaden Daniels, the 2 games that Mariota started last year, he scored 19 and 26 fantasy points, and they beat the shit out of, I just lost it, 40-7. They beat the shit out of somebody with him quarterbacking in week 7. That's a pretty fun one too.
Great is quite the superlative, but he is a backup that can be taken for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like, actually, I just want to real quick look. Did I close out of this tab? I wanted to see go in and see what the best available, because we looked at the best available quarterbacks. I wanted to actually look and see where, like, what's the line of like running backs and wide receivers who don't go drafted. Tesla, Io Manor, Torrey Horton, Jalen Tolbert, so it's not that different. It's adjusted because of the 2 extra rounds. So it's not like the opportunity cost, to kind of your point, John, from the very beginning, isn't massive. And like, you're probably taking a 0 at running back or wide receiver here. You're probably taking a 0 at quarterback. So just do what you need to do, positionally.
Yeah. And I mean, the reality of like Ollie Gordon having a game where he eclipses 10 fantasy points this season is so much lower, and so many more things have to break right than any quarterback eclipsing 10. And now, will that be a usable week for Superflex? Maybe not, but like, yeah.
Good stuff, guys. What do you got on? You got another show you're running here, MLB show?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little members only 12-game MLB slate. A lot of fun. I got more down the hatch than I usually do. I got 30 done right now. So feeling, maybe confidence, not the right word, but feeling a little good about this slate. But Pete, Jets is asking in the chat, who's your favorite stack today?
My favorite stack
Yeah, your
today?
favorite baseball stack. What? Just throw it team.
I did the Swolecast overview had references to both the Colorado Rockies, who I recently learned are the worst team in MLB history. So are the Rockies on today's slate?
I know both teams you reference are not on the main slate today.
The Pirates are not on. Okay. Man, I was gonna say buy the dip on these Rockies. I mean, this is where everybody's out. Fastest team to lose 50 games in the modern era. Now's when you get in on the Blake Street Bombers, baby.
I will say, Pete, to your point, I did put out a pick'em where, you know, I bumped up the Ks on Skeens today, and I bumped up the Ks on Chase Dolander, as I'm prone to do, and I kind of like it. So that's something for John. John's running solo for the paywall. I've got to go watch Mello, but that's my little nugget. If you're trying to build some pick'ems, I like bumping those guys up. But yeah, please watch John behind the paywall after this. The MLB streets need us. I know we're still waiting for a lot of info, but the Numi needs our help in the MLB streets. But I'm sure we will get there.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
You'll be redirected there. If you are on the Badge Bros channel, you will just magically find your way there.
And then yeah, so we'll see what we're up to next week. As we always say, if you guys have suggestions, things you'd like to see us draft or talk about, let us know. I think all three of us are pretty content to hop around the lobby and mix it up in these different awesome tournaments that we have on here. I have Best Ball Bash in randomizer tomorrow. The debut of Best Ball Bash was very fun. Neil Farley won that first seat. If you guys missed how that show works, if you are a YouTube member on my channel, at 1 p.m. Eastern, when I go live, there's a hashtag to put in the chat, and we just spin a wheel. I think there were 23 entries in last week's. And if you win, you can hop on right away and draft a BBM team with me. We'll shoot the shit, get to meet some new faces in the Deposit Kingdom community. So excited about that. And then right after randomizer, Denny Carter, who I've said feels like a long lost friend because he's always on Blue Sky now, and I don't ever see him on X. So I'm excited to hang out with Denny. Here, I'll tell you a funny story. So I went, I host the promos to ask for prompts. And so I was like, oh, I got to go do it on Blue Sky. Like, that's where Denny's going to share it. I tagged the wrong account. Like I just searched CD Carter and I was like, oh, like clearly this is him. It ended up being some like random ass account. And then I'm like, I was completely lost over there. I just didn't even know what I was doing.
He's not CD Carter 13 over on
No,
Sky
I
Blue?
think it's like Denny.Carter.Blue Sky, or it was something different.
Oh,
and I was like,
growing
right.
up. He's grown up.
He's grown up. So that show will be Wednesday. And I'll plug for YouTube members. I had Numi on After Dark on Saturday. Very fun conversation with him, behind the scenes, what it's been like working there, stuff he's excited about. But a fun conversation with good dude Numi.
Love it.
All right, guys, head over, watch John on the solo stream. We'll see you guys around here. Join us in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. If you're not, we got the Badge Bros channels, different channels for different sports. If you guys would like to hop in there and shoot the shit with us, we'd love to have you. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time on Off and On the Clock.